They said, well, is that supposed to be pink for cancer? I said, no, that's red. And they looked it up. And it was meant to be because of their mascot.
Why don't they just put the red on the actual eyes on the mascot on the side of the helmet?
I agree. They were horrendous looking at uniforms.
Yeah, Vicky made a comment on that. Well, I went out to that restaurant over there, Moe's Barbecue. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I need to go over there and check that out sometime too.
Where's it at?
That's
St. George.
over there, right at Flush Road and 24.
Mhm.
It's just behind the Dara's new station.
Oh, really?
Not too bad. It's quick. You order and it's pretty quick.
I know they were having problems running out of food when they first opened. That is to be what it is. But
I don't know all their names, but over number 35 of the Chiefs. You always wait for the guy who catch the ball first, then they try to tackle him or whatever. So,
Morning, Greg.
Morning.
and then,
Morning.
And then number 70 in K-State, number 70 in Kansas City, at least number 70 in Kansas City was out. But if they don't want to get breaking their fingers on that holding.
you know, from a referee standpoint, you can almost call holding on every play to a certain extent.
Yeah, there's guys that do whatever.
One K-State offensive lineman didn't hold. He flat tackled the guy.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know if anybody watched the Cowboys game yesterday, but it was a pretty gruesome injury to their quarterback.
I heard about it. I just saw him carting him off.
His ankle was his leg was here and his ankle was just kind of off to the side. And you can see it kind of popped out.
I
Yeah,
can.
it was bad, pretty bad.
I saw the picture of it.
Yeah.
Picture of it.
Ugh. You just knew immediately. Oh,
That's what happened to me as a senior in high school. They busted my ankle. Never the same.
yeah, that does explain a lot.
Yeah, it does explain a lot, yeah.
It's,
Time for the meeting. Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning to everyone.
Yeah, it's good. Happy Columbus Day.
Yep, and all
Is
that
that
kind
right?
of stuff. So anyway,
So much for going to the bank this morning.
Julie, do you have anything?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, I just have a quick update for you. We did have 20 new cases come in over the weekend. That puts us at 1,968 confirmed positives here in the county. Out of those, 132 are considered active and 1,827 have recovered. About 76% of our confirmed positives are from that 18 to 24 year age range, with another 6% coming from the 25 to 34 year age range. So these two groups have the most cases. We do have less than 2% coming from our kids 0 to 9 years of age and 10 to 17 years. Our percent positive has declined, and we will have last week's percent positive later this morning to go out with our press release today. We did get our testing supplies in for the Abbott machines. We did get a little over 2,000 for this month, and we are supposed to be getting 2,000 every month from here on out. Well, not forever, but until we get our allotted amount. Our nurses and EMS staff are getting trained to use those within the next couple of weeks so we can start making that available to the community. We do have 2 more free testing days coming up. One is this Friday evening from 5 until 7 p.m. and another Saturday morning from 9 until 11 a.m., both at City Park Pavilion. We will continue to meet as the command staff 3 days a week with our EOC briefings every Monday. We'll continue our written press release every Monday and Friday with a Facebook video update on Wednesdays. And we are moving to just once a week with K-Man updates. Those will be on Thursdays at 7 a.m. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, where did those new cases come from?
I'll be able to tell you that later. The only report I got from Renee was that we had 20 more in, but I can give you more details later on this morning, probably.
Hospitalizations, ICU patients, Julie?
I don't have an update for this morning. I know that as of Friday, we only had one in the hospital. But I can get that to you later.
Okay. So need to see if the regular party houses and stuff like that are causing, because if you don't know where they're coming from, it's hard to do anything with it. But I'd like to get with you later.
Sure. Yep. I can
Alright.
give you that information.
Leon, anything?
Yeah, actually I do. Good morning.
Morning.
Several years ago, Riley County did a cold in place rehabilitation on the 2 miles of Welsh Road over in the western part of the county, and then we capped it off with a chip seal. Lately, we've noticed there's been some rutting starting to develop, and but more concerning, it appears like the chip seal is starting to ravel a little bit. While it wouldn't be imperative that we take care of it right away, staff feels like it's best to stop this deterioration before it gets worse. So I want to let the commissioners know that we've created a project and we're going to go to bid for a 2-inch overlay on the 2 miles of Welsh Road. This project can be funded or will be funded using our 2020 federal fund exchange monies that are in CIP, and whatever else is needed will either come from the Public Works budget or our reimbursements as needed. So I just want to let you know that we were going to move forward with that project unless the commission had some reason not to.
Okay. It's a good idea. I think we need to get it done. So,
All right, thank you.
guess that's all that's on there. Did you have something, Lori?
No, I have business meeting.
Okay, on business meeting. Okay. Sir?
You have a public comment, Clancy Holman, Riley County Councilor. And the reason I'm raising this during public comment is just because we've got the firing range tour scheduled today at 10:30. Unfortunately, we need to have a notice that goes out that has some additional requirements in it for purposes of the Kansas Open Meetings Act, for purposes of anybody who's interested in knowing where the tour is going to be and where it's going to be, that kind of thing. We've done the same kind of thing previously, if you recall, on tours of soil conservation district projects where they have a schedule where we made it clear if people wanted to show up, they could do so. For that reason, I'm asking that the board table this. I wanted to get to it as early as we could in the meeting so that you have an opportunity to discuss that. That's the basis for it. And I, quite frankly, I did not notice this lack of notice until should have caught it earlier and didn't see it. That's why you're getting this request now.
Any comment?
I'll reply to him yesterday.
Okay. John?
I must have missed that one. The issue is what now, just so I'm clear?
Well, the issue is that when the board meets elsewhere other than its normal place, the Open Meetings Act requires that you identify specifically where that's going to be. All our notice says it's going to be the firing range. This is a project that's got a lot of public attention, as you would expect.
How much time do you need notice on that? You should to go out a day or two, what, 24-hour notice, what?
There's no real, it just needs to be reasonable. That's the point.
Like I say, you need a longitude, latitude, or address, and the time that we're going to arrive there, and then the time we're going to leave should all been identified ahead of time to meet.
I just missed it on this. So my mistake. I apologize for that.
It may be a while before we get back to it because I'm not gonna have time within my schedule to probably do this, so.
So what do you want to do?
Well, we have some meetings
Okay.
come up there.
I'm
About
asking
mornings.
Clancy, is it possible under this circumstance to make the announcement now, the address, the times and locations, and in the future, be sure that we have this done? Just asking because of Commissioner schedule and Commissioner Ford
I
saying.
know I saw somebody, I think from the Mercury or something.
Yeah, Haley.
Haley contacted
Yeah.
about going.
I think
So
that's who it was.
media,
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
local media at least understands and knows, and I understand what Clancy's saying. We need to do a better job to put address and times and location, but at least at this point, if we could do it, and I told, of course, Haley, of course you can go, media can go, any public can go to it, but,
Sure.
and I understand Clancy's concern, but under this situation, since wouldn't be able to go until maybe the snow's flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, the majority of the law board's going, so that, there's another
Well,
one.
you got law board lined up, and I know Leon's got staff lined up, and RCPD does, is the unfortunate thing. And so, if you guys decide not to, I'll just get a hold of Cindy and say, we need to contact all these people right away.
Yeah, I don't think announcing it now actually cures a defect in the notice, unfortunately. That's the long and the short of it, but that's up to you.
Well, I think you're making it a public comment right now, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with that, but it's,
I'm also okay with it.
I'm okay with it from the perspective that there will be media present, RCPD will be present, so they'll have their transparency there, so.
So you're saying not table it. I just want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to cancel it.
That's up to you.
Okay.
We will do a better job of communicating and being sure we have all of that. It's fairly recent change in the last couple of years, and we've been more detailed about that, and we'll be trying to do that.
If you have
Understand Clancy's
an
concern,
emergency,
not
you don't have to.
diminishing that.
I mean, we got the next, looks like the upcoming meetings ought to end in the middle of the morning or something, so there's certainly time to.
I've got to work.
Yeah,
We're
he's-
picking up big time at work, so I've got to be able to fill in.
Well, and that's the thing, John had taken off work to do it, so.
Yeah.
But it's whatever the board wants to do. I've planned on not going because of Clancy's recommendations, but if we do not, we have a lot of people we need to notify.
I'm okay to still go.
Hey, Leon? Leon,
Yeah,
do you know the address to that location?
I do not.
I've got that.
I just think now would be a time to announce it if we're gonna.
Well, I'll have to look it up. I've got it because I asked for it last week. I can give you that.
So if board wants to proceed on with the tour.
I'm
I'm
okay
with
to
doing that,
proceed
yeah.
with it.
So, particularly since there's a media, there'll be media present there, so.
So there'll be, if you have an emergency, you don't have to.
Well, I mean, with as many people gunning for government anymore, if they look for any little tiny crack that they can file suit and stuff, so that's, you know.
Why don't you have, Nicole Glessner call the law board people? She's got all the information on them. Oh, they're coming anyway. I'm sorry, that was canceled. No,
But if you
No
can
problem.
today, it's, you know.
Yeah. it's not a problem.
Clancy, if you get me that too, and I can have Cindy send out something
Sure.
to everyone that gets the agenda
Yeah, I'm just.
to try and help cover our bases.
I'm just going through my email.
Yep.
No problem.
Okay, so am I to understand that we're still on?
Yes,
Okay, and we have a van. I was gonna ask whether all three, are you gonna drive out separately? You're gonna ride in a van? How are you gonna go?
We do have a van
Yeah,
reserved.
we can go in the van.
Leave from here if you want, gentlemen. But if not, we can drive individually as well.
No, Though you spending gas, we go in the van. That's what you want.
And Rich, were you going or not going?
Huh?
Are you going?
I have to. Good thing I didn't.
Are you gonna drive the van then?
I can.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
let me ask this, are we gonna come back here to adjourn, or will we set up to adjourn after that, whether I drive out or not? We're gonna come back here to adjourn, and I'll just ride along, so.
Yeah, I think we'd want to come back here and adjourn. Don't you think so, Clancy? Because since they're all still together.
I think so.
Yeah.
The address is 1256 Tabor Valley Road. It was provided by RCPD.
Commissioner, we can call Cindy the way she can send something out on that.
Unless you have further questions, that's all I've got for public. comment.
No, that's it.
All right, thank
Thank you, sir.
You gonna go, Greg?
Arranged in the location is at 1256 Tabor Valley Road, time posted and everything. Okay. Okay. Yep, but the address is 1256 Tabor Valley Road. Thank you. Yeah, she'll be sending out an amended agenda with the address, Clancy.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any more public comment?
I don't have any more.
Commissioner comment?
Yes. Commissioner
Anybody
Ford?
else? No, okay. Yes, Thursday afternoon after we met, got on the Zoom meeting for the latest meeting of the Manhattan Area Recovery Task Force. We didn't meet the 2 weeks prior due to some scheduling conflicts. I think it had been about a month, actually. So that was discussed. There was updates from the health department, USD 383, K-State. Got some numbers of what's going on with the travel and hospitality sectors. Not real good. And spent some time brainstorming on how we can kind of move forward, particularly from a local small business perspective, on trying to get things moving and trying to get people comfortable and confident to get back out and about. So went pretty well, I guess. Friday morning, also Zoomed in on the meeting of the waste action team from the Food and Farm Council. Got an update on some efforts, continuing efforts they're doing on regional and area composting. And putting together some strategic plans of how to better do some glass recycling in our area and for the future as well. So Saturday, of course, K-State had a good road victory against TCU. I was playing TCU pretty tough, or they play us pretty tough, or it's just a tough game in general. I was just thinking to myself this morning, I can't remember the last time the Cats were 3-0 to start conference play. So all in all, with everything that's gone on in 2020, at least that's something that was surprising. That's a good surprise for a change. So happy about that. Got a week off to get healthy, then KU. So hopefully October goes well. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wells?
Busy times. Sure we're glad when this political mess is over. It's basically about what it is. Read a lengthy post from a local businessman this morning on the sales tax issue, and he, as well as myself and stuff, we've attended a number of leadership retreats in Kansas City, and the goal has always been regionalism. And his comment was, here we have Manhattan, we're going to try to ignore the benefit of the region and push a sales tax just for their own cause and reasons, which some of the reasons they needed the sales tax was brought on by themselves. And it's kind of a shame that they can't work with the adjacent counties and refuse to work with the city commission, refused to work with the county commissioners, and it just kind of continues on downhill. Reading some of the interviews or they did in the paper Sunday, it's really just discouraging. Thank goodness there was one good ball game on Saturday, and the Chiefs game was interesting to watch. I mean, it's hard fought. I got a notification from West Manhattan resident that went ahead and got his detention basin done on a tributary that drains into Wildcat. And I've got several yet that I haven't reconnected with because they're waiting on some available money to help out. This wasn't a big item here, but looked like we had a pretty serious fire up there in Nicodemus, Kansas. Looked pretty scary. And thankfully that went well. Sorry to hear that we're into shootings, had a couple of deaths Saturday morning, and then allegedly there's some bullet holes in the car Sunday night. That's just hopefully not a sign of the times for that in Kansas. It's we need to try to be as civil as we can here in this community, and I'm glad we have the law enforcement we do. They do a very good job of keeping control on these things. Some of those things like that sound more like a personal deal between a few people and doesn't impact the public or anything, but Once again, what people don't realize is though, those bullets don't stop when they miss their intended target. And sure hate to see any of our people here hurt. And lots more comments, but it's all political, so I'd just rather do work and enjoy myself here instead of talking politics.
Thank you. Well, Friday, I met with RCPD, Dennis Butler, and we talked about the upcoming meeting for next week, and that sort of deal, and I'll go along with that. He also notified me of what happened up there on Allison and stuff, and what we had a week or so ago with the other one over there on Freeman Road. I'm pretty sure that, as you were saying, with all the things going on, frustration to me, we've locked everybody up, not opening some businesses up, not doing other things, not giving enough time for some businesses to do things, and requirements on things. And I think the frustration of the people is starting to show. And I'm really not very happy with the fact that we're not considering those people who own businesses, and the general public, we're tying them down and with the restrictions. And people are not made up that way. They want to socialize, they want to do other things. And I know that there are some that says, well, we have to be careful, but I feel that having people that are more calm and sane is better than having people get all riled up about stuff. So I'm concerned with that. And Saturday's game helped a little bit to calm things down. But anyway, that's the extent of my stuff.
Did you get a call from a local business on?
I did. I got a call on that, and I'm really concerned over that. And that's
Kind of an overreach on the health department.
I think it's overreach on government. When I say, when you say health department, I'm talking about just government
Loss
in
of
general.
millions of dollars.
Yeah, and what he said was that there was another event to take place here in town, but the health department made it so bad and hard on them, they went to Salina.
No, the city did. That was with
The city.
masks. They
It
wanted to
was
be able
masked.
to not
Yeah,
be masked in
yeah.
that environment. That was
Yeah.
over at the Bluemont, and they chose to go to Salina instead, where they didn't have to do that.
Yeah, and this is what the problem we're having with it. And again, I think it's a little overreach. And so with government, and I know what they're trying to do, but look at who came in. And
This guy.
so anyway, that's all what I'm concerned with. And
Masks.
what we can do about it. And we'll discuss that further. So anyway, a business meeting, sir.
First item, gentlemen, 2020 empg application.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the 2020 empg application.
All in favor?
Aye.
I tried to get on Tuesday's meeting, but I didn't have the right password or something, and it didn't let me get on.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, it was trying to connect, but it kept asking for a password, and the password that was listed on there didn't work.
Didn't work for you?
Didn't work.
Huh. You should have sent me an email and I could have had Mary work on
Well,
it
I'm
for
in
you.
a spot where I don't get great reception to
Oh,
begin
okay.
with, so I was just gonna try to listen in and not do the video, and it usually works, but, yeah,
Well, sorry about that, John.
not a problem. I'll just, whenever we have the next one there, if it's in that manner, I'll check ahead of time.
Yeah, sir.
It's gotta work around technology, it happens.
Yeah.
Yep, we can do that. Next, gentlemen's 2020 LEPC membership list.
Who did we end up getting for officers?
Letter.
The membership list you're looking at is the 2020, and so Nathan Dixon from EMS has been serving as the chair.
Okay,
For the year of 21, it'll be Nathan again as chair, and then Renee Lucas from Health Department will be vice chair.
okay,
And I continue on as secretary.
that works. Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the 2020 LEPC membership list.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
Laura.
great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Next, we have MOAs with outside agencies, CARES funding.
I was having problems trying to pull that one up for some reason.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. This is just a resolution. It's not the actual MOUs at this moment. Is that what I'm understanding?
It's, that they're agreeing to follow these appropriate procedures
Okay.
if they're going to be accepting these funds.
Okay. Well, if there's no discussion on that, then I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the MOAs with outside agencies in response to our CARES funding.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lots of places, Marvin.
Oh, Lord.
This is when you ought to bring on food so these other guys could eat or something.
Well, you won this week. You were supposed to bring breakfast, so that's on you.
Well, you know,
Agree with that.
Some eggs, some bacon, and hash browns sound really good right now. Oh,
well, I know, but don't want to overfeed you.
that's breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day.
You know, that's why I ate mine at home. She took,
I forgot one too.
you sure we'll get out of here by 10:30?
So if you didn't have enough, you've got more.
You don't know how to spell your name on this, Greg, you're gonna learn by the time it's over.
I got a little wind blast now.
Yeah, we did.
Roll the dumpster away off slab and roll a few things around, a few tree limbs down.
I think I seen one where a semi overturned a I-70 over in Lincoln or Ellsworth
Really?
County, somewhere over, yeah, somewhere over back west.
One thing about signing all these things is the clerk has to sign them too.
Oh, I know. See, this resolution, I get $10 per signature though.
I,
That's how we forward all those sign-in notes.
That was just a joke, by the way.
Oh,
it's too late, it's been recorded.
Yeah, I know. That's why you gotta clarify everything nowadays. See the headlines.
that one's on you.
I'm okay with it. You gotta have a little bit of levity, don't you?
Yes, you
Today's
do.
world.
Especially this year, yes. I agree.
Well, those skunks are really tuned into the action of the pump. I haven't had it, guys, all.
They
winter.
jump about 10 feet and then
Well,
take off.
it was Thursday night or Friday night there, and I always put the light on, bring the last bird feeder in. I saw the big black and white fuzzy thing underneath, and, they don't, not scared at all or anything. Step back inside, pop one up, jack a shell in, and look back, and gone. I mean, not even on the whole property. And that's not the first one, so they're attuned to that sound.
Yeah. Seen several on the road too.
Well, I thought I had them all, I told Mary this probably just won't pass through. Hopefully.
This sounded like all the rain stayed pretty much north and east of us last night.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a heck of a
Heard about that dust storm out west?
I did,
Blows down the highway. You
did.
can only see 20 to 30 foot in front of you. That's dangerous. Yeah, we could use some rain.
Now, there's one on here I really screwed up on, and it's just one page. We should get that reprinted.
Maybe it'll do it.
Yeah, just keep signing it till you get it.
I mean, it's screwed up. It's real screwed up. I don't know what was going on. I was listening to all you guys talking, and all of a sudden,
Trying to do two things at once, huh?
yeah. Why not try to do that anymore? Well, I try not to. So you might want to take a look at it. Either shake your head after you look at it.
That'll let us know whether it'll pass or not.
I think it really needs to be fixed. I attempted to sign my name twice, and it just doesn't work. At least I know what's screwed up.
It happens.
Towards the end of this one.
It happens.
I know, but this is not nice. This is not good.
Next, gentlemen, I Raleigh County Personnel Action Form, Shanika Rose for status change, activating the full-time to assist with COVID-19 duties as a chronic disease risk reduction coordinator, health department.
After tail cool down now, there's another one.
No, okay. Well, it looks like we're gonna have another long meeting Thursday.
When?
Thursday.
Or not.
Can we have a county city meeting? Yeah. You could be sick that day, you know that.
Probably will be. I feel a scratchy throat coming on Thursdays.
Well, we're gonna have a good one next Monday. Okay, it'll be fine.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
First report's 2020 year-to-date wages overtime compared to budget report. As you can see in this upper right-hand corner, we're at 75% point in time of the year. That's what we use as our indicator to look to see comparatively where departments are financially within their respective budgets. You'll see everyone's doing pretty well when it comes to wages and overtime compared to budget. Always like to go over the percentage of overtime compared to regular wages. Of course, you can see EMS ambulance is normally much higher than the rest of the departments, with them being on 24/7 shifts. Overtime is a large budgeted portion of their overall budget. So that's not to be, that is to be expected. The other higher percentages in overtime are typically public works, noxious weed, solid waste. That's budgeted as well. They do have higher budgeted amounts than, say, departments such as elections and clerks that don't have as high a budgeted election. Although you will see, due to the election, of course, presidential election, we are higher than typical for the election department at 2.4%. And that's just simply because, gentlemen, while it is a great convenience and a great service that we're allowed to offer to the public to have a choice on how they want to vote with having the polling places and ballots by mail, it seriously is like conducting 2 elections at one time. That's the amount of work it creates. Overall, you will see, we were at 6.01% in overtime overall within the county budget. Any questions on that first page, gentlemen?
Nope.
Next page is just a little bit more detailed breakdown of the wages and salary budget for the respective departments, breaking down regular salary, seasonal, temporary, and overtime. Any questions on any of those departmental budgets? Next report's 2020 year-to-date activity report. Set it down a little. Maybe. You can see those that are highlighted in the blue are those that have exceeded that 75%. Treasurers is over, elections over a little bit, which, like I said, is due to the amount of election activity we have going on. Planning and development, it is not, I just highlighted that. Budget appropriations, insurance, and general fund transfers, those are all cyclical and will generally balance out by the end of the year. For the transfers, we did authorize more transfers than we had budgeted. Once again, this overall in the general fund, so none of these are a budget violation. They're just simply departments within the general fund. And by the end of the year, some of them could remain within the 100% budget allocated amount. I always like to point out to the commissioners, the county general services, of course, that is atypically low, which we want it to be at 22.04%. Once again, gentlemen, that's because of the budget stabilization amount that we have in there. Any questions on that first page?
No.
Next page, you'll see the departments that are highlighted in the blue. County auction, economic development. Of course, economic development, that has a large amount of appropriations that are paid out of that. Radio infrastructure project, which is a capital project. And legally, just like the Riley County Fire District capital outlay, they're not legally required to be budgeted funds, but in Riley County, we go above and beyond and budget all funds. And so we do require them to stay within their budget amount, and we'll simply do budget amendments at the end of the year to make sure we comply with state law on budgeted funds. Fire station projects, RCPD operations, of course, that should balance out by the end of the year, although as I'll go over with you gentlemen, it's higher because of the budget appropriation amounts have been paid out, but we have had a few inmates this year that have had higher than normal medical costs. Any questions on that page?
No.
Next page is all enterprise funds. An enterprise fund is a fund that is, the revenues are not derived from general taxation dollars, no ad valorem taxes, only fees or special assessments to pay for those costs by the individuals that live within those districts or own properties in those districts. All of them look to be doing good at this time. Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Next report, 2020 County General, just a little more detailed breakdown. Personnel, contractual commodities, miscellaneous at 2.4 million is what keeps that percentage down lower, gentlemen, at 22.04. That's reserved in case we have an emergency such as the flood, or potentially even if we were not able to get monies from the federal government for the pandemic. That money would be available for that, so it's very valuable to have that available. Personnel, I would point out, there are no individuals that get a weekly or bi-weekly salary from that, but that personnel line item is just for separation of service from the county for long-term employees and retirees. Of course, we will spend more in that fund than normal this year with several department heads retiring this year. That's why we budget that. Any questions on that, gentlemen?
No.
Next is just a comparison. 2019 to 2020 expenditures per department for the month of September, and then year to date through September, just for commissioners to get a snapshot, although not always an apples to apples comparison of how expenditures are going on in departments compared to the previous year. Any questions on any of those, gentlemen?
No.
Next, RCPD expenses paid by Riley County. This report here shows you our monthly expenditures based on those categories there. I honestly like this next report a little bit better. RCPD expenses paid by Riley County annually. That kind of gives you a good snapshot comparatively to the last several years through 2015. You will see at this point in time on the physician how we are fairly high with still having a few months to go. We had one inmate early on with higher than normal medical expenses, and we currently have 2 in there with higher than normal medical expenses. And so those costs will continue to increase, may exceed the budget on those line items a little bit, but I think overall in the RCPD fund, we should be fine. Regardless, as you gentlemen know, anything medically related with inmates is a statutory responsibility of solely Riley County. No other public entity assists in paying any of those costs. Any questions, gentlemen?
Yep.
Offsite inmate medical expenses paid by Advanced Correctional Healthcare. You can see, at least we do still have $15,103 left in our pool, which is good at this point in time. We'll see how that goes through the end of the year with higher than normal medical expenses. You can see that average daily population is 61 in the facility. Any questions on that, gentlemen?
Nope.
Okay, you gentlemen, take any more time and review those, and have any questions over any of those figures that we've shown you or any information, we'd be glad to get you more detailed information. Cheryl Collins is up at 9:15, and we can finish up with some business stuff. You gentlemen are ready. Gentlemen, like to review the minutes?
Okay. You guys ready?
Yep.
Page 1.
On page 1 under public comments, it's actually over in page 2 there. It said that well stated this is the first he had heard about it.
Mhm.
Well.
Oh, well, yeah. Well stated, yes. Well, it was well
It
stated.
was well
Well,
stated.
well stated.
It was well stated.
I hadn't heard about it either, so it was well stated.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay. So that's page 2
It wasn't
anyway.
totally inaccurate.
Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page. That's it.
Motion on the
I've got 8
minutes.
on mine.
Huh?
I've got 8 on mine.
Did go through 8.
Yeah, I guess it's page 8 on there. Yeah, page 8.
Move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second. A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Gentlemen, how the tentative agendas look?
Okay,
Any items for next week's press conference?
don't have any. I don't.
You guys think of any? Let us know. Put it on there. Like I said, Cheryl will only be up in a few minutes. Oh, Cheryl. Good.
Beautiful weather.
Yep.
Well, it's gonna get more beautiful. It's been a little hot for me lately.
Couple of warm days, and I think it's going to be fall.
I hope. Not too much I like to do outside this time of year.
When you find that page, you'll see why I think I need to redo it. On there.
Have not, but I did find another page you'll have to pay some attention to here. so.
Oh, Cheryl, by the time you get up there, you'll be ready.
I don't walk too fast.
But you always do. It's time.
For the last 5 years, the Riley County Historical Society has provided a grant to Riley County to fund additional hours of work for the museum assistants, at the Riley County Historical Museum. This additional work has been very beneficial to us. One of the things that these additional hours makes possible is a museum assistant available during our public open hours. And that person can answer the phone and greet visitors and help with tours. And that way, our curatorial staff can focus on projects and make the most efficient use of their time. The Riley County Historical Society has offered a grant to fund museum assisted additional hours of work in 2021. And I recommend that Riley County accept this grant to fund that work. So thank you for your consideration.
Any questions for her?
No,
You make a motion then?
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the Riley County Historical Society Museum Assistant Grant.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks very
Cheryl.
much.
Cheryl?
Thank you.
I come early so that I can get all the I's and T's dotted so that I can tell the museum assistants. So they will be absolutely thrilled that they have hours available next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Cheryl. Have a good day. Got $40 to our pizza fund on that one.
Good deal. I'm thinking of smorgasbords from all kinds of different
I'm
places.
thinking we can bump up from pizza to steak.
Ooh, yeah. Might do some budgeting figures, but we might throw some lobster in there too.
We can probably have that.
That one
Mhm.
and this.
Mhm.
You guys find all sorts of ways to do it. You have to cheat with money.
We're not above that.
I mean, give me a break. If you got more than one thing for me to sign, that gets confusing, okay?
Press conference, gentlemen, 9:30. And I may be able to take the whole 15 minutes. Got a lot to cover.
What you do?
And Sam, I didn't know if you were in transit or if you heard, but we did not put the location of the firing range tour that's on the agenda, but that address is 1256 Tabor Valley Road. And of course, the public are welcome to attend.
And what brings you in today?
Brandon said probably start going back.
Say what?
Brandon said probably start going back.
Yeah.
Glad to have you.
We would have a little trouble with some of the audio on the streaming, so probably see if we get.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
Some technological issues last week there too, so.
Yeah, we did that one day.
Yeah.
Technology is great, except when it decides not to be.
That's right. I'm about fixing to throw away this mask. Tickles my nose. My nose running. Keeps on doing that, I just might do that.
Well, last week there was, don't know if it's the university here or who was going to have masks that have a valve so they could play their wind instruments. And I thought, well, how bad could that be pulling that stuff out?
Yeah,
Or is there a filter in those instruments? I've never played a wind instrument, so.
no, there's not a filter. Filters are fine in the operation room, that kind of a deal. They're operating on patients to do
You
that.
really, you wouldn't want to sit downstream from the wind instrument section.
No. When they put this thing out, the instruments are there and they're kind of a semicircle facing, all facing the conductor. Somebody's getting hit with a lot of wind.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Good, how's it going there, Rich?
Good. Nicer weather, so I'm a happy man.
Actually, it was a nice morning, really didn't feel all that cool.
Nice morning, I liked it.
As long as you're responsible for this, I think it's a great thing that you're doing. You know, but if you're not responsible for the weather, then I'm gonna have to go to somebody else.
Yeah, well, today I was, tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
I think Greg's got it, so he's got the same.
Sherman?
Yes,
It's 9:30.
Ready, gentlemen?
yes.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Gentlemen are aware by now that we do have a general election coming up on November 3rd.
Mhm.
I want to go over some key dates and key information regarding this upcoming election. I want to remind everyone, voter registration does close on October 13th, which is tomorrow, at the close of business tomorrow at 5 p.m. So anyone that is currently not a registered voters, and I really implore the K-State college students, any young individuals in high school that are qualified to register to vote. A lot of times we have teachers at high schools and colleges that encourage people on election day to go vote. Well, that's a little too late if you did not take care of business and get registered to vote by October 13th, because you still have to follow the state laws in Kansas. So we want everyone to have an opportunity to vote that's qualified to vote. But one of the key aspects to be qualified to vote is to be registered, and that deadline is tomorrow, October 13th. Advanced voting in person, and the first batch of ballots by mail will go out tomorrow, not tomorrow, Wednesday, October 14th, and that is by state law. I talked to a neighbor of mine, neighbor farmer that farmed on my ground, and had some questions for him, and he said, oh, by the way, when do my mom and dad's ballots get mailed? Because they had heard that it was October 1st. No, by state law in Kansas, we cannot mail those out until October 14th. Do want everyone to know that in this first mailing, we will have 9,810 ballots that will be mailed on October 14th. That is a lot, and that will not be all of them. So I do suspect we will mail out over 10,000 ballots eventually. But in this first two batches that are going out, it's now 9,810. And so that is a significant amount. Do want to also announce, I discussed a little bit last week that we have a mail ballot drop box at the West Loop Shopping Center. Of course, that'll be there 7 days a week, 24 hours. It's out in front of Marshall's, kind of in between Marshall's and Joann's, right there on that sidewalk. Really appreciate the property manager of that facility allowing us to do that. And then we will also have another drop box within the city limits of Manhattan. That's the shopping strip off of Tuttle Creek Boulevard at 2000 Tuttle Creek Boulevard. Do want everyone to know that all of these for security and safety concerns, because you hear a lot of that about, the elections and mail ballots, those are monitored by camera. So I want everyone to be aware of that they are monitored by camera. Our IT department has worked well with us on that. Remind everyone that we have always had a mail ballot drop box in Riley County. We have always had the one out in the front of the 110 Courthouse Plaza, the courthouse office building. Right there, it's open 24 hours, 7 days a week as well. So we have 3 of them within the city limits of Manhattan. And you can also just bring them into our office. We have a ballot drop box on our front counter if you would like to put it in there as well. Also want to announce that all of the small cities will also have a mail ballot drop box within the city offices of the city of Leonardville, city of Riley, and city of Ogden. The address of the city of Leonardville is 118 Erpelding Street. Riley is 222 South Broadway Street in Riley, and Ogden is 222 Riley Avenue in Ogden. Sharps in the city of Randolph has agreed to put a drop box there in their facility because Randolph does not have city offices, so that's why we're doing that. And we're putting them in the city offices because we know we will have people there to supervise them and to watch them for the safety and security of the ballots. So did want to make those announcements. I think that'll be a good option for individuals that choose to vote by mail, and some of those that may be concerned with the timeliness of them getting here. And I would encourage people that do want to participate by mail and are going to use the U.S. Postal Service to mail them early. Don't wait till the last minute to be sure they get here. The sooner you get it done, we have had great relations with our local postmaster. There's been a lot of concerns even locally. I get calls and questions, but I can tell you we visit with our postal staff daily during this time. And they actually, for their processes, they're not supposed to have 2 pickups, but they'll call us in the afternoon and say, hey, we sorted these out for you. We got some more. Because they generally deliver it like at 10 o'clock, and we'll go over at 3 o'clock and get another batch. And so we have very good communication with our local postmaster and their staff, and they go above and beyond for us, and we really appreciate that. Also, I want to talk a little bit because there are many concerns about polling places as well. Of course, on Election Day, November 3rd, all polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We do have poll agents. Poll agents are allowed to be at polling places, but they do have a process that they have to go through. They have to fill out an application in our office. And once they fill out that application, we give them a badge that says Riley County Poll Agent. There are rules and regulations they have to follow, and we will educate them on that. But whenever they're at their polling place, they have to have that badge and the actual application with them. Did want to go back to something I skipped over, talk a little bit about advanced voting. Advanced voting in person is open at the courthouse office building beginning on Wednesday. I want to go through those hours. The advanced voting begins October 14th through October 16th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. this first half week. And then October 19th through October 23rd, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. 2 extra hours that week. Then we're open on Saturday, October 24th from 8 a.m. to noon. Monday, October 26th through October 30th, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. again. And then Saturday, October 31st, 8 a.m. to noon. And then by state law, we have to close advanced voting at noon on Monday, November 2nd. During the presidential election, we always have another advanced voting location at the Kansas State Union. They've agreed to allow us to do that again this year. It's at the second floor in the Bluemont room. Those hours are a little bit different. So they're not the same as down here. Their hours are October 14th through the 16th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. October 19th through October 23rd, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. October 26th to October 30th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the final day, once again, Monday, November 2nd, 10 a.m. to noon. So we're trying to make it as convenient and easy as possible for everyone to participate in this election. And if people have any questions, to call our office. About the Riley County website, we have tons of information out there. People can also pull up their sample ballot. I would highly encourage that, especially those in the city of Manhattan, because there is that special question to get familiar. It just makes the times at the polls go a lot more efficiently if you're familiar with the question. And also the individual districts that you get to vote on, because many times people don't remember which districts they get a vote on, where they can get educated on the candidates. And you can also go out there and find your polling place and also advanced voting locations. Something new this year that with the assistance of the county counselor that we're going to be adopting this year is rules prohibiting the use of cameras, photographic lights, and other audio-video recording devices inside polling places during the hours the polls are open on election day. I do have a copy of these to give to the commissioners and the media. KSA 2528 assigns the Riley County Election Board control of its voting place and election procedure under the sole supervision of the Secretary of State, County Election Officer, Deputy County Election Officers, and the supervising judge. Every polling place is considered a non-public forum within which reasonable restrictions on speech are allowed. During the hours Riley County polling places are open on election day, the use of cameras, photographic lights, and other audio-video recording devices by voters, members of the public, is prohibited inside Riley County polling places. During the hours Riley County polling places are open on election day, cameras, photographic lights, and other audio or video recording devices cannot be used by voters or members of the public outside any Riley County polling place in a manner which willfully interrupts, hinders, or obstructs any person approaching that polling place for the purpose of voting. Any person who violates one or more of these rules can be ordered to leave that polling place by the Riley County Clerk, Deputy Riley County Clerk, or polling place supervising judge. And any person who then refuses to leave that polling place can be subject to prosecution for criminal trespass. And gentlemen, media public, just unfortunately due to the nature of some activities that go on at polling places, and especially during presidential elections, we have to be clear on the rules that are allowed for all individuals, public, media, everyone involved. And so we will be clear and we will hand those out, and our poll workers will be educated on those. And that's why we'll also have rules for poll agents as well. And especially it's even more concerning nowadays with how we have to manage inside polling places with the social distancing and the direction of the local health officer. Any questions?
Sounds like a full-time job.
Yep.
If you only knew. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next next gentleman, have myself and Elizabeth up on the public information officer.
Yes.
Yep. That's fine. That's a good idea, though. Especially on that part. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate your work on it. That was that I just mentioned, press conference.
Okay.
Said I'd get you one, and I forgot to get you one.
Time, I think.
It is.
It is.
Busy more.
Yep.
But more than I like. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Next, we're going to discuss the recommendation to create a public information officer. I'm not going to go through and read the card, gentlemen. I know you had that in your background material. I'm just going to give you a little background on how this came to fruition. It's mentioned in there a little bit. I think David's probably on Zoom. I hope he is anyway. But David Adams, the EMS director, had discussed with me a couple times over the last year that, Riley County really needs a public information officer. There for a while, in some instances, in emergencies, he's kind of taken on that role for us publicly. That's really not his mission or his role. He's EMS ambulance director, and it was great when he did that. But since then, in the interim, we've been using Vivian with the city of Manhattan. And as you gentlemen know, City Manager Ron Fear had told you guys at a recent update that they really need Vivian back full time. She's been conducting the public information officer service for Riley County and has done a great job, and really appreciate the city's contribution in that manner. But they're going to be pulling her back full time. We will not have anyone that is able to do that. And it's much, the request of this position is much more than just for that type of manner, because over the last year, that's what I've talked with David about. And my hesitancy was, okay, well, what do we have for full-time work after a pandemic, or when a flood's not going on, or when there's not some other emergency? And talking with Elizabeth and David and Julie, and actually when we made the presentation, I think you gentlemen get the minutes from the department head meetings. There's a real need, we believe, in the county, and I can just tell you all the questions that I've gotten from the public and media regarding elections, to have someone that can answer those questions full-time, because as Ron said, when I gave the update on the elections, it sounds like a full-time job, and that's just one aspect that I do in our office. And all the department heads agreed. We're so busy with our other tasks that we fail, not because we don't want to, but we can do a better job of educating the community. I think Commissioner Ford has talked a little bit about this, about, the need to have these meetings, on Zoom or YouTube like we do. It's just an educational aspect of the media. But we could educate the community much better on a regular basis of what all the departments do, and kind of make our brand better out there in the community, so people really understand the role of county government, how it differs from city government or state government. Department heads overwhelmingly supported this. I want to address the position being in the county clerk's office. They really got my attention to think about this for a couple weeks. I have been thinking about it for a couple weeks when they recommended that. The ones that brought this to me was Elizabeth, David, and Julie. I wasn't involved in those beginning discussions, and they had said, and they suggested be under the county clerk. I really had to think about it then, because as you gentlemen know, I'm not a big advocate of additional personnel really in other departments until you can guarantee it's an absolute need. I'm well aware of the cost of the taxpayers, and they are the ones eventually that will pay for this, gentlemen. They originally presented this to me as a temporary position, just of course because of the pandemic, but then we got thinking about all those other roles it can play. Another key role would be, functions within the county commission meetings. Instead of us taking a staff person from Kevin for 8 hours a week, Kevin could have his staff person back that sits in here to assist commissioners with the computer video aspects of the county commission meeting. So this person would take on that role, because this person would need to be here for the meetings anyway, to be informed as to what the commission's doing daily. That way we can get that out there on our website and other social media venues. And that's a big part of it too. There's so many social media venues that we don't have a good wide presence on. And to really get someone that's educated and trained to do this, Vivian at the city does a good job. I remember RCPD was the first in our community to have such a position. It was called Twitter Cop, is what they called it at the beginning. And I forget the guy's name, I can picture him. But they did a good job of educating the community on what was going on with RCPD, and it's just really grown from there. So I think it's probably past time that the county gets such a position. As I stated, we had discussion. I initially talked to you before we went to department heads with Kevin and with Clancy about what had been proposed to me, and they both agreed as well on different things that they could do. And they could do all of the website updates for the various departments. I go to other websites just for county clerks and elections and say, man, it'd be really neat if we did that. Why don't we have that? Because we're looked at as a progressive community. We're a highly educated community. And we would then have someone to dedicate time to do that for all of us respective departments, because across the board, all the other department heads acknowledge we could do a better job. We just don't have the time to do it. People with these qualities have a specific educational background and just really enjoy doing this type of work. And so that's why we come to the board recommending this. It's after probably a month's thought that I bring this to you, because my biggest concern was having enough work for them. But I know we're behind in enough regards of updating our website, social media presence, and branding Riley County, that it would definitely be a full-time job. I don't see the needs and requests for information that all of us departments get on a daily basis reducing anytime in the near future. So I'd be glad to stand for any questions.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I can see a whole lot of stuff that they can cover. There's not only the pandemics, but there's weather that we've got, the offices close, open, this type of stuff that they can do, and answer questions through a centralized department, I think would be great.
And I don't know if there's Marvin, any other department heads online or even here that would like to make any comments, or, but I know David and Julie were huge advocates for this. They were the ones that took it to Julie. They had the job description wrote up before I was even aware they were talking about doing this
Yeah.
seriously. So, but it's good, and the city's glad that we're on it so quickly, because they really do want Vivian back full time post
Yeah.
haste.
For that.
Yeah,
She's
well, you know,
really good at
when,
what she
when
does.
something does happen, those directors, especially emergencies, they're busy trying to do their job, and it's better to have a spokesperson.
And that's their job. And this individual, I hope was represented well in the car. I know I at least expressed it to the department head. Yeah, it'll be in the county clerk's office, but it's someone that's to serve all departments on an equal basis. And Kevin's department, Clancy's, and mine, we're really service departments. You know, we do HR and payroll and accounts payable for other departments. That's really what we are to other departments. We're a service department to them. And so everyone was very comfortable with the recommendation. But I do think there's a need. I think we're behind the 8 ball on this one. You have to remember, the pay is only recommended. You see, initially we can fund it with a grant, but just being upfront, after that, gentlemen, it will more than likely be ad valorem taxes. That is just estimated based on positions that Elizabeth has reviewed. Of course, if it is approved by the board, we'd have McGrath review it, bring that back to the board and say, here's what McGrath recommends, and you guys could agree or disagree with the recommendation before we can even go out to advertise for the position. So, you know, we're talking a month to a month and a half out before, probably a month and a half out before we could get someone here, if you guys agreed today to do this.
Well, I think it's nice to have, as the county grows and the interest in government seems to be stronger now, that there's a point of contact for everyone, including the media and the press, without interfering and bothering, especially during an incident, flooding, tornado, whatever. Instead of interfering with our department heads out doing the job they're supposed to be doing. Also, initially, didn't want any more employees. However, looking back on, I did some thinking this past week on a administrator for county. I've got 8 years more experience than the man in paper does on it. They absolutely have done no research on it, but I attended 3 sessions put on in Kansas City by the administrators to try to encourage it. And each time they had to admit that at this point, Raleigh County did not warrant or justify an administrator, let alone the $1 million of additional cost. And of course, the paper, from what I understand, is that the head of it doesn't even live in Raleigh County. But I would rather see $55,000, $60,000 spent for a person in this position than with going out and running an office somewhere, and the staff and the IT and everything is spending almost $1 million on an administrator at this point. As they pointed out in those meetings that I attended, there's only 21 counties out of 105 in Kansas. And then I also attended the same meeting at Charlotte, North Carolina, on the National Association of Counties, and they had did the same thing based on the operation of Raleigh County with very little debt, bills paid, money in the bank. So they couldn't overcome that. So at this point, I think this is a lot better investment as far as adding an additional employee.
And I tell you, gentlemen, I've been in this position 24 years and haven't asked for additional staff. And the majority of I think all the departments in Riley County do a very good job of trying to hire the best personnel that we can, overloading them and not increase personnel numbers. It's, and one thing that's really helped us, of course, is technology. Technology, we've tried to keep up technologically to help, get the most bang for our buck out of personnel. And that's another thing that's assisted us in keeping our personnel numbers at the level that they are. But at some point in time, like I tell finance people that concerned with cost, which I do as well, because that's my background, finance and accounting, is there's a cost of doing business. And the way we do business has just changed over those 24 years as well, I can tell you greatly.
Technically, we voted or by consensus last year to have David Adams as a PIO. Is there a procedural change that we need to make with that? And the second part of that is I'm kind of curious of why the decision to have this in the clerk's office rather than the IT department, because to me, this is a natural IT type of position.
Well, IT actually, and Kevin was there and we talked about it, is really there to support hardware and software.
Okay.
I mean, that's really the mission and the focus of IT, to keep all of us operating on hardware and software. It's really not public information. By default, IT does update some websites, but the majority of the departments update their own. And so that was the reason why, it's because IT is looked at more as a service organization to service department on hardware and software issues, not public announcements. And generally when people come to information for the county, if they don't know where to go to, they contact the clerk's office over all other departments.
I would agree. Like the IT is a specialty department.
Yeah.
And their function is to keep us operating in IT and GIS.
Yeah, I agree.
It'll be an individual that's highly trained in social media and how to access those, but it's just no different than any other employee that all of us have that use high-end software and hardware. They're trained in that expertise on how to update that, but they couldn't tell you how to fix a computer or which software is best for this application or that.
In talking with IT, and then I did research quite a few job descriptions, not only locally in our counties and a couple of the cities that are in our area, but also nationally, to kind of see what the responsibilities are and then where they lay, where those responsibilities lay. And then talking with Kevin, we're talking about more about content and a crafting of a message and the usability and communication aspect of our social media and our websites. And IT is really about taking what you give them as a representative and just putting it on, making sure it's up there, but not worrying about whether the message is consistent, whether it's representative of the best information we have, or whether it's even necessarily the end user is getting the communication they intend.
And typically when I get a call, something I can't answer or anything, I'll refer them to the clerk's office initially anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's where basically most all counties, where everything starts is in the clerk's office.
We get a lot of calls for the city too. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
what people are kind of trained to. The city and many other organizations throughout the community, and the clerk's office has become very educated on which organizations or entity does what, because we're constantly directing traffic to RCP, courts, you name it.
And Commissioner Ford, I will say, this isn't something that Rich actually intended to go in the clerk's office. So after doing the research, that's really where the best fit seemed to lay, because of the duties of serving all of the departments and all of the officials and really communicating with everyone in Riley County.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't even in on the beginning. They brought this to me and I saw the writing on the job description. So yeah, 2 other department heads and Elizabeth had worked on it and I wasn't even aware of that.
Seeing as this is going to be a grant funded position at this particular point in time, and considering that we are probably at information overload and we've got some changes and stuff with staff, I can certainly understand that in the short term, but I'm going to feel more comfortable coming back before making that an ad valorem position and reviewing it and seeing how that goes and going from there before we officially go that route. That's where I'd like to see us go with this.
I just, the only thing I would caution you there, because that's how it was presented to me as temporary in the job description. The only thing that would change would have been one word would have been inserted in there, temporary, is, I think you'll get a different amount, a different level, and a different quality of candidates, knowing that I have a position after the grant is gone in a year, than knowing it's a full-time regular position. So that's why I suggested that. And I honestly think going forward with how society has changed, it's a need long-term.
Can I mention too, just in talking with Kevin, so right now, and this is what Kevin, so IT's knowledge is that all departments have websites. IT manages all of them except two departments. Supposedly on Facebook, there are only the county appraiser, EMS, clerk. However, and then the same thing with, everyone has a Twitter account, but no one is tweeting. There are Instagram accounts, but no one is using Instagram, and there are officially no LinkedIn accounts. But if you guys go out there on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, you will see accounts for Riley County, multiple different accounts. They may or may not be official or formal. They are obviously not being reported to IT, or they're not posting that content. Now, I'm not saying anyone's doing anything malicious, right? I'm not saying that there's anything that's really bad on those, but there is no consistency. There is no one that's saying, okay, it's just making sure that we're all using a policy, we're all presenting our best foot, we're all putting the appropriate information out there. And again, trying to be as transparent as possible. So not choosing to just not disclose information when we need to, right? So if it's someone who, this is their responsibility, we'll have a much better handle on all of those accounts, which we all know people use more regularly than they use in person or hard copies these days. And those are the things he mentioned we've been able to hold staff down because of technology advances. And really, we also then now have to be able to manage those technology advances at some point. Maybe not this moment, but at some point we're going to have to say, okay, we got to manage that.
Well, it's tough for me. I understand the point, because nobody's going to want to work for just for 64 weeks, possibly. But initially, when I first reviewed this last night or this morning, my thought was, well, I'm fine through end of 2022, and then let the new commissioners make that decision from there on.
And actually, we'll be making that decision beforehand, because we'd have to include it in the 22 budget, which you'd be working on in the spring.
Right.
And that was my natural thought, is you can have that discussion.
So
at that
that's
point.
one thought. So at some point, how are you going to explain that to a hire that, well, you may only be here 6 months or a year, and so I mean,
Those
I'm
positions,
going
these
ahead.
particular positions, from what I understand about them, they're kind of fluid in general, and people do move around quite a bit. So I don't expect to necessarily hire one and have them here for 20 years, 30 years, whatever. That's kind of comes with that particular post and that particular position and the duties and responsibilities. So I'm still actually okay with that, given that
I
dynamic.
think your statement's right. Maybe 20 years is extensive, but to have someone possibly potentially relocate to the area, they're probably not, because they have the skills that you really want. Because like you mentioned, you have to have someone who has this background, has this knowledge, has experience, or you don't want someone who's not able to do a good job, right? I don't know that they will relocate and come to the area for a 6 to 8 month or 12-month position. That's a little bit short, right? There's a big gap between 20 years and 6 months.
With the advent of climate change, everything that's taking place, the additional interest in government right now being very contentious anymore, and with everything said, I think at this point, I'd make a motion to approve the addition of a public information officer in the clerk's office, because I think it's a good investment.
Do I have a second? If not, I'll second it. So all in favor? Aye.
I'm going to say no at this time, just because I still want to review that and see where we're at.
We'll see
terms
what,
of the
see what
actual-
happens, but we have the majority votes.
I do. I didn't know if then it's over, but any other department head did anything else to say, or if any was on.
So I think it's an excellent idea at this time and place. I mean, when I first came on and things have changed a little bit, flood, epidemic, this, tornadoes, do whatever it has to happen. And as we're saying, more people looking at what government's doing, we need
After
someone.
75 years, and maybe not 100, but substantial flooding on Wildcat.
Yeah.
Just in itself, basically all being in Raleigh County, it happens at least, not major necessarily each time, but it happens at least twice a year to 4 times a year, major event, several times in every 10 years. So that's just one facet of it. Plus, we're in a very dry period. We've had, many fires. One fire that swept past me years ago on the west side went north quickly to where the Farm Bureau building is now, faster than we could bring in trucks and equipment. If it wasn't for Pat, if it would have jumped the road at the Tataracts, they guaranteed there would be loss of life. There's only 2 ways in and out. So it's just a multitude of things. And I think for the price of the salary, I think it's a good investment at this time, because I don't see things getting any better. We got, of course, that'd probably be RCPD, but we've had just over the weekend several shootings. Hopefully that's the end of it.
But RCPD also has their own PIO people.
Yeah, they have their own.
And so once again, first off thought, no, let's just do it for 64 weeks or for whatever. And I think at this point now, I think it's a good investment for Raleigh County for the amount of money that it costs.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Ford, your concerns were exactly mine
Yeah.
at the beginning. That's why it took me so long. But, just a couple of those things that Ron mentioned, after the 93 flood, remember the fire that they couldn't control because of all the driftwood. But just the things that you had mentioned with the Wildcat Creek flooding, there was a lot of information out there from Riley County after the Wildcat Creek floods. But what has any staff at Riley County to update the community on a regular basis on what we were doing now, after the initial impact? And there's just so many more things I think we can educate the public on in a better, more timely manner on a regular basis. And that's the only reason I think it's justifiable. And, we probably have more different things going on than someone like a department like RCPD that justifies a full-time PIO just for what they do, compared to how many departments we have at Riley County that constantly have stuff going on every day in some manner. And so I think we'll be able to keep someone more than busy full-time, and that was a consensus of all the department heads. There wasn't any department head that disagreed. So
And then in the future, I can't remember now. I think Gary said we had on our every 2-year inspection of bridges. I think we have 12 now that are inspected every year. With the loss of sales tax coming up in a couple of years, there's going to be, not just necessarily due to flooding, but there's going to be failures like we just had here on Stockdale. And we're going to have failures. We're going to need a PIO because Raleigh County doesn't lend itself to an easy parallel roads and half mile and everything because of the shape of the county and things. So it's not a situation where a person can just go around, take another avenue around on a quarter-mile stretch or half mile. So there's just a multitude of things, and I'm not sure that the taxpayers are going to want a $6 to $10 million increase to pay for those bridges and things without that sales tax. I mean, I'm going to resist it because I'm paying all the tax I want to pay, and somebody is going to have to be able to answer a question to the people that can't get down their road because they've detected a failure in it and they've closed the road overnight or something. So it's just a multitude of things.
Yeah, I'll make it clear. I can definitely see importance here. I just want to make sure that when we get to that point where it's taxpayer funded, that we are indeed where we need to be at with that. And I'd like to have that opportunity when that time comes. Right now with the pandemic emergency and everything else that's going on, I can definitely see that. And if I were the city of Manhattan, I'd want Vivian back too, because she's very, very good at what she does. Very, very good. So and hopefully we are able to get that person on board, and then down the road we'll feel comfortable with it and it won't be an issue. But I'd like to see us work on trying to be a little bit more transparent in these positions and being able to say, well, we're doing this, and this, and then being able to fund that ad valorem when the time comes. So that's just why.
The one thing we haven't got settled and is a concern, as you gentlemen know, I've expressed concerns about this all the time with our department and almost every other department that I can think of, is where to put additional staff. And so we haven't quite got that figured out, but we will get that figured out. But that shows you how short we are on space for personnel.
Yeah.
So we'll get that addressed as well, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's getting short time here because to 10:30, we're gonna have to go. Clancy,
Oh, Clancy's.
Yeah. did you have something else?
Not today, he has a long hour, he needs an hour today.
Good Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Holman, Raleigh County Counselor. Continuing work on various projects in the same departments I talked about before, Health Department, Emergency Management. Finished off the project at the Clerk's Office last week. Also continuing to work as a member of the Budget and Planning Committee on the CARES funding matters that are still out there and will continue for some time. This Tuesday, there will be, as your agenda indicates, the legislative policy statement review by KAC. Tuesday morning, I'll participate in that on behalf of the county for those two items of legislation, specific legislation that the board is in support of, the dark store legislation and also the constitutional protection of home rule. We don't expect there to be any problem with those from the membership of KAC, but it's a process that is structured and there can be questions, that kind of thing. We'll see where it is. And then also on Friday, and this will be obviously a Zoom meeting. All meetings are Zoom, as far as I can tell.
Microsoft Teams too, I'm struggling with that one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep, we're using that with the Budget and Planning Committee, dealing with our consultant. They do Teams meetings. Friday, there's an annual CLE for the statewide County Councilors Association. And I'll be participating in that by Zoom also. But available, of course, in all these because I'll still be in the office. So, okay. If you have any questions on anything, I'll be glad to answer. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, we leave
10:30.
10:30. We'll have the van over here. I'll just swing her around over here.
We come back and adjourn after the,
Correct.
okay. This way.
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
I didn't want to wait.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know, appreciate that. Well, if I lack the preparation, it would have been.
I know you eventually, someone's gonna pull it off. Maybe hit down there.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Good, good. Went to, took a cross-country road trip back in August. And right back to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loaded everything. Yeah, I went to, had the pickup truck. Drove nonstop. No stop. I mean, we stopped for gas and stuff. We didn't stop. We're good. It's getting that.
Wow. Like you do it.
Yeah, I flew back, which is like the first time flying. Pretty nervous. Also, my friend bought the wrong place ticket. So I'm gonna also share it there.
Did you say you guys are having problems with the audio or the live stream?
Oh, it's not like it's cut out or anything, it's like kind of, I don't know, not echoey, but it's kind of like low.
Okay. Or that doesn't have to do with mass or anything else. Another category would seem to be the amplify something on there, so it's always a work in progress. Yeah, thanks. Nice to see you again.
Yeah,
By the way, I like
Oh, yeah,
like
thanks.
mask.
Yeah, I got that. Oh, yeah, he bought, it was to the wrong airport. And we were in Baltimore, it was in DC, we went at the time. So luckily he found another ticket to Kansas City. So I still was able to fly out that same night. But yeah, it was pretty fun. Got some seafood in Baltimore. The place will live because we got bucket of crab. Broke down, we got crab, mac and cheese hot dog. We got hot dog with macaroni, cheese, and crab on top of it. Easy. Good. That was pretty fun. So, good to see you. Yeah, you too.
See if they gave you time, a little bit slower.
No, it's okay, go for it. No, I haven't been here long.
I'm behind you, something.
Unless you've got ID, you can't sit over there. I'm gonna get this meeting adjourned.
All I need, gentlemen, is a motion.
I want to.
Do we want to?
The
Maybe we just want to stay here all day and talk
County
about
got a
stuff.
shoe shine shop somewhere?
No, my shoes are a little dusty.
Yeah, life goes on.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other business, guys?
None?
I have none. So I
Okay.
guess with that in mind, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn.